Liberated souls have no interest in materialistic activities. The impersonalist theory that after liberation one becomes inactive and needs here nothing does not prove that a liberated person is actually inactive. A living soul cannot be inactive. He is either active in the conditioned state or in the liberated state. A diseased person, for example, is also active, but his activities are all painful. The same person, when freed from diseased condition, is still active, but in the healthy condition, the activities are full of pleasure. Similarly, the impersonalists manage to get freed from the diseased conditional activities, but they have no information of the activities in the healthy condition. Those who are actually liberated and in full knowledge take to hearing the activities of Krishna. Such engagement is pure spiritual activity. So what he's trying to say, Prabhupada is trying to say that no one is inactive at any time. No one is inactive. There's activity everywhere, always. Activity is there. Even in Bhagavad Gita it is said that no one can remain inactive. So everyone has to act. At least to fill their belly they have to do some work. So everyone has to act in this material world. It does not matter whether one is a young man or an old man. So before death takes place, we must be fully Krishna conscious. At the point of his death, King Parikshit was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami. When King Parikshit expressed his untiring desire to hear about Krishna, Shukadeva Goswami was very pleased. Shukadeva was the greatest of all Bhagavata reciters, and thus he began to speak about Krishna's pastimes, which destroy all inauspiciousness in this age of Kali. Shukadeva Goswami thanked the king for his eagerness to hear about Krishna, and he encouraged him by saying, "My dear king, your intelligence is very keen because you are so eager to hear about the pastimes of Krishna." He informed Maharaj Parikshit that hearing and chanting of the pastimes of Krishna are so auspicious that the process purifies the three varieties of men involved: he who recites the transcendental topics of Krishna, he who hears such topics, and he who inquires about him. These pastimes are just like the Ganges water, which flows from the toe of Lord Vishnu. They purify the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Somewhat understood? Mataji?
You made a very nice point, Maharaj, about that action is always required, like no matter like even like materialists have to do like they have to do activities, and so the point that life, like human life, is very precious.
Very precious.
And it's and that activity is always required. So it's like use human life for the proper activities, no?
Yeah.
To hear about Krishna.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, devotional activities. Activity is important. So what kind of activity? So activity cannot be karma or vikarma. So you avoid vikarma, akarma. No, vikarma and karma. Vikarma will give you bad results. Karma will give you good results. So both we don't want. We want akarma. Akarma means devotional activities. Devotional activities incur no reaction. There is no reaction. Whatever you do it for Krishna. In that way you are active also. You do the activity, but whatever you are doing is for Krishna. So in that way, it is not a selfish activity, and it is supremely beneficial for yourself and for others. So that is the perfect way to engage one's life. So in Ishopanishad it says, so one who performs akarma can actually continue to perform that activity eternally without any reaction. Can do that eternally without any reaction, without any bad consequences. So that is the devotional way. Many people don't understand actually. Many people, if you go to Mayavadi ashrama, they have some other understanding of akarma. If you Mayavadis have a whole screwed up understanding of karma actually. Karma, and vikarma, they have their own explanation, but actually in the end it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that the Supreme is impersonal. Just doesn't make sense. But everything is drawn from that basic concept in their lineage. and that's actually Shankaracharya himself is Lord Shiva, and he particularly comes to misguide the demoniac population from not doing notorious activities. So to keep them from notorious activities and to keep them from disturbing the devotees, Lord Shiva comes and misguides them and takes them away. That's what it is mentioned in the Puranas. Shankaracharya comes for that reason.
So about to mischievous activities.
Notorious activities, demonic activities.
Because
the demons, what the demons do? They just disturb the devotees, right? What they do finally? What does the demons do? They actually do all notorious things or notorious materialistic things, and disturbing the devotees basically. So Shankaracharya at one point, so much demonic population, Shankaracharya came and misguided them, saying that you do meditation, you do tapas, and you just merge yourself in the Brahman aspect. Yeah, that's how in the Puranas it is said. So Shiva says that I will misguide the demonic population away from the core Vedic principles. I'll misguide them away. So that was the whole purpose of Shankaracharya, and he was very, very successful in that. His effect is still felt now. So many people are easily attracted to Shankaracharya's Advaita. So many people, but those people are very, very egotistic people. If you really meet some staunch Shankarite, first thing you will sense is his ego. Seriously, whoever is, if he's a staunch Shankarite, if he's a staunch Mayavadi, the first thing you'll sense is his ego, his ahankara. That's you cannot miss it. Sharma. Yeah. Sharma, Bhanu Prakash, everyone is very, very. You'll feel that. Subramanian, according to Bhagavad Gita, no one can remain without activity. They have to engage at some point or the other. At some point of time, they have to engage in activity, either spiritual or material. So that's what Prabhupada is saying, that but they have no information of the activity in the healthy condition. Those who are actually liberated and in full knowledge take to hearing the activities of Krishna. So even the liberated stage, what do they do? What do they do? What is their activity, daily activity? Their daily activity is just all about Krishna. It's not that they are not engaged in material activity. So what activity they are engaged in? They are engaged in something, and that is Krishna. That is devotional service and hearing about Krishna, and then participating in Krishna's pastimes, the liberated state, and so many things are there. So it's all activity. It is essential for persons who are actually liberated to hear about the pastimes of Krishna. That is the supreme relishable subject matter for one in the liberated state. Also, if persons who are trying to be liberated hear such narrations as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, then their path of liberation becomes very clear. Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of Srimad Bhagavatam. By studying the Gita, one becomes fully conscious of the position of Lord Krishna. And when he is situated at the lotus feet of Krishna, he understands the narrations of Krishna as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya has therefore advised his followers that their business is to propagate Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha means narrations about Krishna. So initially Bhagavad Gita you have to read, and once we have understood Bhagavad Gita, the principles of Bhagavad Gita, then Bhagavatam becomes clear. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself is speaking. No one else is speaking. Krishna himself is speaking directly. So by hearing the transcendental words of Krishna, then you have get some faith in him also directly. Commentaries are there, but who is the speaker in Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself is speaking. So in that way, it is direct connection. Sometimes atheistic class of people, they think that why should I hear anyone else? Why should I hear the commentators? Who are they to tell me anything? I will just read the book. In that case, Krishna is directly speaking to you there. Krishna is not actually speaking through someone else. He is speaking directly. So even those kind of people are also they can also get benefited by Bhagavad Gita, because it is the word straight coming from Krishna himself. And then once they understand some basic understanding of Krishna, and then once they understand supremacy of Krishna, then automatically they are more attracted to the devotional process of going from the parampara, and all those things come eventually for even those people if they are really understand the message properly. Lord Chaitanya has therefore advised his followers that their business is to propagate Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha means narrations about Krishna. There are two Krishna Kathas, narrations spoken by Krishna and narrations spoken about Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is the narration or the philosophy or the science of God spoken by Krishna himself. Srimad Bhagavatam is the, so I was making just that point. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration about activities and transcendental pastimes of Krishna. Both are Krishna Katha. It is the order of Lord Chaitanya that Krishna Katha should be spread all over the world. Because if the conditioned souls suffering under the pangs of material existence take to Krishna Katha, then their path of liberation will be open and clear. The purpose of presenting this book is primarily to induce people to understand Krishna or Krishna Katha, because thereby they can become freed from material bondage. This Krishna Katha will also be very much appealing to most materialistic persons, because Krishna's pastimes with the gopis are exactly like the loving affairs between young girls and boys within this material world. Actually, the sex feeling found in human society is not unnatural, because the same sex feeling is there in original personality of Godhead. The pleasure potency is called Srimati Radharani. The attraction of loving affairs on the basis of sex feeling is the original feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we, the conditioned souls, being part and parcel of the Supreme, have such feelings also, but they are experienced within a perverted, minute condition. Therefore, when those who are after sex life in the material world hear about Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, they will relish transcendental pleasure, although it appears to be materialistic. The advantage will be that they will gradually be elevated to the spiritual platform. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that if one hears the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis from authorities with submission, so this particular point is in italics, from authorities with submission. That is the way to hear the pastimes of Krishna. It has been italicized particularly because this is a big. You might have read about this in authorized Chaitanya Saraswata Parampara. This is directly coming from that one shloka, Vikriditam Vrajavadhu Biritam Cha Vishnu, I think. So there is a shloka in Bhagavatam. It's a very famous shloka, and there is a lot of contention between the Sahajiyas and the original followers of Gaudiya principles. So there is always a contention. They are saying that Bhagavatam says that anyone can hear Krishna's pastimes, intimate pastimes, and get purified. So how are you stopping us from hearing it? So they are actually questioning Gaudiya Math, that why are you stopping us from hearing Rasa Leela of Krishna, intimate pastimes of Krishna? Bhagavatam says it. Bhagavatam says that whoever hears the intimate pastimes of Krishna will be purified. Right? So, but they conveniently actually neglect the point that it should be heard from authorities with submission. So those two things are very important. It says Vikriditam Vrajavadhu Bhiridam Cha Vishnu Shraddhanvito Anushrunuyat. Anushrunuyat means with submission, authority, hearing from the authority, from the parampara. Anushrunuyat Atha Varnayedya means those who hear or explain it, both. Vikriditam means the playful pastimes of Krishna. Vikriditam means playful pastimes of Krishna. Vikriditam Vrajavadhu Bhiridam Cha Vishnu, playful pastimes of Krishna with the gopis. Whoever hears it or whoever describes it, hears or describes. Vikriditam Vrajavadhu Bhiridam Cha Vishnu Shraddhanvito means with faith, with proper Shraddha. Shraddhanvitoyam Anushruniyat means hearing from proper authorities through parampara. Shraddhanvito Anushruniyat Atha Varnayedya, or those who describe it. Bhaktim Param Bhagavatim Pratilabdha Kamam. Bhaktim Param Bhagavatim. So he will attain the highest devotion. Bhaktim Param. He will attain the highest devotion. And Pratilabdha Kamam. And he will surpass all materialistic tendencies. Bhaktim Param Bhagavatim Pratilabdha Kamam. All lusty desires will go away, it is said in this shloka. Bhaktim Param Bhagavatim Pratilabdha Kamam Hridrogam Ashvapahinoti. Achirena dhiraha, and immediately his heart disease will be vanquished completely, removed. Heart disease will be removed by Achirena dhiraha. Dhiraha means, dhira is also one word which is very important here. Dhiraha means those who have regulated their urge of senses. Those who have reached a stage of means, although they have lusty desires in their heart, but they have reached a stage where they can control it. It's not that they have completely purified it. It is there in their heart, but they know how to control it. That is a dhira. Dhira means who can control their urges of senses. Even though it comes, even though it is there, it's not that it's not there. It is there in the heart. They also feel all the lusty feelings and everything, but they control it. That is the dhira. So this verse is particularly mentioned for the dhiras, means those who are sober, right? And then there is also a process. The process is with faith, with shraddha, and listening from the authorities, from the parampara. So that this verse is misused by Sahajya, saying, see, no. You will easily get purification by hearing about the intimate parts of Krishna, but what they get is their lusty desires are increased by hearing Krishna's pastimes, nothing else. So Prabhupada is actually here also it is italicized, particularly. The advantage will be that they will gradually be elevated. But actually the advantage will be that they will gradually be elevated to the spiritual platform. In the Bhagavatam it is stated that if one hears the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis from authorities with submission, then he will be promoted to the platform of transcendental loving service to the Lord, and the material disease of lust within his heart will completely be vanquished. In other words, it will counteract the material sex life. So that is the process, the devotional process of Shravana and Kirtana both. But there are some proper way you have to follow authority. Krishna will be appealing to the liberated souls. Krishna will be appealing to the liberated souls and to persons who are trying to be liberated, as well as to the gross conditioned materialist. According to the statement of Maharaj Parikshit, who heard about Krishna from Shukadeva Goswami, Krishna Katha is equally applicable to every human being, in whatever condition of life he is in. Everyone will appreciate it to the highest magnitude. But Maharaj Parikshit also warned that persons who are simply engaged in killing animals and in killing themselves may not be very much attracted to Krishna Katha. So this is the shloka that I was trying to explain initially. Nivratatashya rupagiyamana bhavoshadashvatra manobhirama ka uttama shlokakunanamatat Puman virajat vina pashugnat. That last two words. Pashugnat is the animal killers or killer of the soul. That pashugnat applies to killers of animals or killers of their own souls. Killers of their own souls means what? Means they are just not caring for the soul. They are not engaged in devotional service. Non-devotees. Those who don't care about Krishna, those who ignore Krishna, those who actually are afraid of Krishna, stay away from Krishna's devotional service. So they are actually killers of the soul. So those two people will never actually get attracted, is what he is saying. So may not be very much attracted to Krishna Katha. In other words, ordinary persons who are following the regulative moral principles of scriptures, no matter in what condition they are found, will certainly be attracted, but not persons who are killing themselves. The exact word used in Srimad Bhagavatam is Pashugna, which means killing animals or killing oneself. Persons who are not self-realized, who are not interested in spiritual realization, are killing themselves, basically. Those who are not on spiritual path are killing themselves. Persons who are not self-realized, they are committing suicide, because this human form of life is especially meant for self-realization. By neglecting the important part of his activities, one simply wastes his time like the animals. So he is Pashugna. The other meaning of the word refers to those who are actually killing animals. This means persons who are animal eaters, even dog eaters, for they are all engaged in the killing animals in so many ways, such as hunting and opening slaughterhouses. Such persons cannot be interested in Krishna Katha. You're getting some idea?
A little bit, Maharaj.
Little bit, okay. So you have any questions?
Not yet. Maybe after this, I'm gonna talk with Brinda.
Okay.
Maybe she's gonna explain anything in Spanish.
Okay. Yeah. King Parikshit was especially interested in hearing Krishna Katha because he knew that his forefather and particularly his grandfather Arjuna were victorious in the battle of Kurukshetra only because of Krishna. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence in this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. According to Maharaj Parikshit, the battlefield of Kurukshetra was just like a vast ocean full of dangerous animals. His grandfather Arjuna had to fight with such great heroes as Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and many others who were not ordinary fighters. Such warriors have been compared to the Timingila fish in the ocean. The Timingila fish can very easily swallow big whales. The great fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra could swallow many Arjunas very easily. But simply due to Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to kill all of them. Just as one can cross with no exertion over the little bit of water contained in the hoof print of a calf, so Arjuna, by the grace of Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battle of Kurukshetra. So Parikshit, what Prabhupada is saying is, Parikshit was interested to hear about Krishna very much because Krishna helped his grandfather Arjuna in the Kurukshetra battle. Krishna was there. Prabhupada is saying that Arjuna could win the Kurukshetra battle only because of Krishna. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to even fight. He was not even ready to fight. But because of Krishna, he took bows and arrows, he fought, and then Krishna became his Sarathi and everything. And then he gave guidance, proper guidance at the right time. So he could win the war. Prabhupada is saying, so with Krishna's mercy, we can cross over even the material world, just like, very easily. Just like Arjuna crossed over the Kurukshetra battle. Maharaj Parikshit very much appreciated Krishna's activities. Maharaj Parikshit very much appreciated Krishna's activities for many other reasons. Not only was his grandfather saved by Krishna, but he himself was saved by Krishna. So the story goes like this. At the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, all the members of the Kuru dynasty, both the sons and grandsons, on the side of Dhritarashtra and those on the side of Pandavas, died in fighting. Everyone died, except the 5 Pandavas. Except the 5 Pandavas brothers, everyone died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaja Parikshita was at that time within the womb of his mother. His father, Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, also died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and so Maharaj Parikshit was a posthumous child. So when he was in the womb of his mother, a Brahmastra weapon was released by Ashwatthama to kill the child. When Parikshit Maharaja's mother, Uttara, approached Krishna, Krishna, seeing the danger of abortion, entered her womb as the super soul and saved Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit's other name is Vishnuratha because he was saved by Lord Vishnu himself while still within the womb. You got the story? Yeah. No? Little bit?
Somebody threw an arrow to the mother?
Ashwatthama.
So what happens is like after the Kurukshetra is everything is done. So Duryodhana is killed by Bhima. Bhima actually kills Duryodhana by a little bit of cheating in the end. Krishna actually hints him that you cannot defeat him. Yeah. So Krishna actually asks him to beat him on the thigh, and then Bhima just follows it and kills him. And then Duryodhana is just killed and lying on the ground, and everyone leaves. And Duryodhana is painfully crying for days and days before dying. He doesn't die immediately. He just stays there for days and days crying. And at that time, all this Ashwatthama and Kripacharya is still alive. Ashwatthama is still alive. And then one more person, I don't remember. 3 people come to Duryodhana and they speak with him and then they vow revenge. They say that we will take revenge, don't worry. Then Ashwatthama goes to the Pandavas camp, and each Pandava had 2 sons from Draupadi, 2 sons. So there were 10 sons, Ashwatthama kills all of them. All 10 sons are killed by Ashwatthama. So, and then in the end what happens is, there's a big, because they were sleeping, so it is very, very inauspicious to kill a Kshatriya when they are sleeping. Without even challenging him to fight, you just kill in sleep. So Ashwatthama does that. So he gets a curse from the rishis, and everyone really condemns him. So in the end, what happens is Ashwatthama actually he hears that there is one more scion of Pandava in the womb of Uttara, that is Abhimanyu's wife. So she has she is carrying a son. So he thinks that I'll kill him also to finish off the Pandavas. He had that in mind. So he just draws a Brahmastra. Brahmastra is the strongest weapon. So he releases that Brahmastra on the womb of Uttara's womb. And then what happens is Angavata. No, actually it's not like that, right? Actually Arjuna challenges Ashwatthama. Then what happens is the fight ensues between Ashwatthama and Arjuna. But Ashwatthama does a very wrong thing. He actually releases the Brahmastra. He releases the Brahmastra towards Arjuna. But what happens is Arjuna also has a Brahmastra. To counteract it, he also releases a Brahmastra. So both astras are coming towards each other. Then Vedavyasa comes. Vedavyasa comes and then it comes in between of both astras and then asks Arjuna and Ashwatthama to take it back. You cannot destroy the whole universe by this. He was very worried that by clash of these two Brahmastras, whole universe will be destroyed. So you cannot do that. So Arjuna is able to take it back because he knows how to. But Ashwatthama doesn't know how to take it back. So he says, I cannot take it back, but I will redirect it to Uttara's womb. So he redirects the astra to Uttara's womb. So then everyone is very, very fearful, and Uttara approaches Krishna. Then Krishna enters her womb and then protects Parikshit Maharaj from the astra. And then Parikshit is born. So that way Krishna actually saves both Arjuna in the battlefield and his grandson Parikshit. Thus everyone in any condition, so actually Ashwatthama gets a curse again, saying that you will never die, you will just be in the material world for eternally in the material world. He gets a curse, and then it is said that he's still there. There are 7 Chiranjeevis. His name is Chiranjeevi, means eternal. But in the Vedic it says there are 7 Chiranjeevis, and then Ashwatthama is one of them, who's always there, always in the material world.
Hanumanta.
Who else? Hanuman is there. Ashwatthama, Hanuman, Vibhishana, Parshurama. ಆಮೇಲೆ who else? Vedavyasa. Vyasa.
There's 2 more, I don't know.
Yeah. But Ashwatthama is a cursed life.
It means that there are 7 personalities that
Never die.
Never die. They are still roaming the earth. I don't know for how long, but I think there is some end, but I think for a long time they will just Prahlada is in the Patalokada.
But he is Chiranjeevi, he is never dying. Bali
Chakravarti.
Bali was Sugriva Bali.
The king who got stepped by Vamana, he said, he is eternal, he is not dead.
Yeah. So all of them are Chiranjeevis. So Ashwatthama is a cursed life, others are not cursed life. Vedavyasa of course is a literary incarnation of it, so he is there. But Ashwatthama is a cursed life.
So it says that he's still
Just roaming around. Maybe he's the Yeti. Yeti, man. See?
Yeah.
Watch it.
You can catch it.
Yeah. Roaming the Himalayas. Yes. Thus, everyone in any condition of life should be interested in hearing about Krishna and his activities because he is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. He is all pervading. He is living within everyone's heart, and he is living as his universal form. So Vishwarupa and also Paramatma. And yet, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, he appears as he is in the human society just to invite everyone to his transcendental abode. Back to home, back to Godhead. And yet, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, he appears as he is in the human society just to invite everyone to his transcendental abode. Back to home, back to Godhead. Everyone should be interested in knowing about Krishna. And this book is presented with this purpose, that people may know about Krishna and be perfectly benefited in this human form of life. In the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Baladeva is described as the son of Rohini, a wife of Vasudeva. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, had 16 wives, and one of them was Rohini, the mother of Balarama. But Balarama is also described as the son of Devaki. So how could he be the son of both Devaki and Rohini? This was one of the questions put by Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadeva Goswami, and it will be answered in due course. Maharaj Parikshit also asked Shukadeva Goswami why Sri Krishna, just after his appearance as the son of Vasudeva, was immediately carried to the house of Nanda Maharaja in Vrindavana Gokula. Why? He also wanted to know what the activities of Lord Krishna were while he was in Vrindavana and while he was in Mathura. Besides that, he was especially inquisitive to know why Krishna killed his maternal uncle Kamsa. Kamsa, being the brother of his mother, was a very intimate superior to Krishna. So how was it that he killed Kamsa? Also, he asked how many years Lord Krishna remained in the human society, how many years he reigned over the kingdom of Dwaraka, and how many wives he accepted there. A Kshatriya king is generally accustomed to accept more than one wife. Therefore, Maharaj Parikshit also inquired about his number of wives. The subject matter of this book is Shukadeva Goswami's answering of these and other questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit. The position of Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami is unique. Maharaj Parikshit is the right person to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and Shukadeva Goswami is the right person to describe them. If such a fortunate combination is made possible, then Krishna Katha immediately becomes revealed and people may benefit to the highest possible degree from such a conversation. So this is a very, very nice point actually. You know, whenever Guru Maharaj actually speaking whenever Guru Maharaj is speaking, if there is a proper recipient, the talk will go for long hours. Guru Maharaj can keep on speaking, you know. But if the recipient is not so means up to the mark, then the talk will not go long. So that's very, very common. It takes two to clap. It takes two to tango basically. It's not that the Guru Maharaj will only one person speaks and everyone listens. Not that like that. Even the recipient is the listener is also there is a qualification for the listener, qualification for the speaker, and when both means combined, then the conversation is very, very, very interesting. It can go for a long time and it can be very substantial because the recipient is hearing properly and asking proper questions, right? And the speaker is qualified to give answers. Then the reciprocation will bring out a lot of substantial topics, and you can see Guru Maharaj himself, that's how it goes. Guru Maharaj, and he speaks. So this is very important. So when Shukadeva Goswami is the perfect person to speak the Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit is in the perfect situation. He's in the perfect situation to listen to the Bhagavatam because he's going to die. Yeah, die in 7 days. So it's a perfect situation. And he has all the questions in his mind, and then he's going to ask. This narration was presented. Actually, even Bhagavad Gita is spoken by that only. Arjuna is in a complete vivid state, and Krishna wants the fight. So they both combine, and Bhagavad Gita comes out from them. So it goes both ways. This narration was presented by Shukadeva Goswami when Maharaj Parikshit was prepared to give up his body, fasting on the bank of Ganges. So this narration was presented by Shukadeva Goswami when Maharaj Parikshit was prepared to give up his body, fasting on the bank of Ganges. In order to assure Shukadeva Goswami that by hearing Krishna Katha he would not feel tired, Maharaj Parikshit expressed himself very frankly. Hunger and thirst may give trouble to ordinary persons or to me, but the topics of Krishna are so nice that one can continue to hear about them without feeling tired, because such hearing situates one in the transcendental position. It is understood that one must be very fortunate to hear about Krishna Katha seriously, like Maharaj Parikshit. He was especially intent on the subject matter because he was expecting death at any moment. Every one of us should be conscious of death at every moment. So this is the one more important point. Everyone should be conscious about death at every moment. This life is not at all assured. At any time one can die. So, so this is the further preaching. It's not that Parikshit is dying, so he is so serious. Actually, everyone should be serious, like Parikshit, because death can come anytime. This life is not at all assured. At any time one can die. It does not matter whether one is a young man or an old man. So before death takes place, before the current goes